Hey guys, I'm back. I didn't go AWOL. I appreciate all the messages checking in to see where I was at. I took a little bit of time off. As all you guys know, the work-life balance is hard sometimes. Being a present boss, giving customers consistent quality while fumbling through and learning how to run a business and still being a good husband and father is really rough sometimes. And sometimes you have to back burner stuff that you really love to do, like this podcast. And with that being said, if you guys caught my quick little intro asking that I want to hear from you guys, I want to clarify something. I've been pretty selective about who I choose to have on here for reasons. I want to have people who are relatable and who have been there and in the trenches. I want to talk to people who have something to teach or something to learn. I started this podcast because I wanted to meet and learn from other people in the industry. I regularly get emails from you guys, and I'm honored that you even care about my opinion. I'm positive there are way more qualified people out there to help me answer these most asked questions. So instead of doing the same format as I always do, I kind of want to table a few questions and have a mini series with short episodes for the next couple months to answer some of those questions that everybody has been asking. So yes, I do want to hear from you guys. I'm going to put a list of questions out on our Instagram page, such as what did you learn the hard way? What was your biggest pain point? What do you wish you knew before you started? And things like that. If you've got answers to some of these questions, I want to hear from you. We can make these short, we can make these 15 minutes, we can make these 30 minutes, we can make these an hour if you want. It's up to you guys and what you feel you can add value to. So, by the time you hear this, I want to have these questions posted. If you want to hop on a call with me, give me an email, kevin@jmwfabrication.com. We'll set up a time and we'll see what we can do. I want to start putting these out as they come. So we're going to get back into things pretty quick. So if you've got something, reach out to me, kevin@jmwfabrication.com. And until next time, get out there, get it done, and get it invoiced. Hey guys, welcome to the Welding Business Owners Podcast, where podcasts are late, but our bids are on time. I'm your host, Kevin, with JMW Fabrication. Today we've got episode number 4 with Dillon from Yeti Welding and Fab. Him and his team work out of Spanish Fork, Utah, and they're doing some really cool stuff out there. If you haven't done it yet, head on over to Instagram and find him at Yeti_Welding. And I hope you guys enjoyed this talk as much as I did.
We have our own plasma table that we built that's sitting outside. But immediately when we finished our plasma table, our own build, all of the metal components, and we just needed to push buy from Automation Direct for all of our servo motors, motion control, everything. I got an ad from STV about their new Optimum tables, and I was like, uh-oh. We full backed, and I didn't buy any of the motion control. So I have our own 6x12 table painted powder coated bright cherry safety red outside that we never finished because we're like, we want a table to be like this and this and this. And STV rolled out their table exactly the way that I had designed mine. I called Rob up at STV and said, can I come down to the shop and look at one of these? And he's like, absolutely. And I flew to Vegas the next day, and then 2 weeks later I got a table in on order. You know, because I wanted it to have servo motors and not stepper motors. I wanted its motion control to work a certain way with certain components. And I wanted my rails to be easily replaceable and non-dependable upon the specific company that I was buying it from. They're still using the HR40 bread loaf stuff that you can get like next day on Amazon from anywhere in the entire world. Amazon, Automation Direct, same stuff. Nothing's proprietary about it, you know, just really rinse and repeatable. So that's why I bought my own. But now you've got me thinking, Kevin, like maybe instead of building the big Yeti, because I'll only use the big Yeti a handful of times, maybe I take the table and turn it into exactly what you just described and turn it into one of these fab tables.
Not to give you anything else to think about, but there is a apartment complex probably about 30 minutes from here. And every year they put it in their budget for us to replace 5 to 8 staircases because it's old and they're phasing out. And to be honest with you, they're in really, really bad condition. They should replace all of them. but that's beside the point. But all the staircases are the same. So what we did is, since they're all the same, we drew up a file. The stairs are actually concrete, precast concrete treads with kicker plates. And the first ones that we did, he hired us on. We did like 3 or 4 of them. We put, the stringers in. We welded clip angles on them. Put some holes in them and called it a day. And then the next year we came back out. And the problem is they just use salt. They use salt rather than like calcium chloride for salting these stairs. And they're like partially covered, but people still salt them anyway. And they were starting to rust behind the clips again. And I'm like, man, this kind of sucks. So we changed our clip design to just use a flat plate. And then we would field weld in the kicker plate. So that was the second year we did it. And then that was okay. You get a lot of warpage on the actual stringer itself because you're putting a whole lot of heat into it.
Right.
So it was okay. And then last year, Dillon actually came up with an idea. We actually have them bent up. We cut them out at a 1/4-inch plate, and they're about 12 by maybe 5 inches long. So we cut out a relief. If you imagine the part that the tread will bolt onto, you only have about 1.5 inches or 2 inches on either end that actually gets welded to the stringer. So so we flat pattern this and we bend it in the press brake. So it's welded in 3 spots, but it has like a 1-inch notch taken out of in the middle. So that way you can fully weld all the way around this clip at the 3 spots. And then you drop your tread in from the top, bolt it on, and then the bent piece for the riser plate, we make the riser plates, we tack studs on them, and they bolt into place. So we're putting these treads on, and we're putting in new stringers, which are fully welded all the way around where everything meets, so you don't have any spot for rust. And we have these riser plates that we're bolting in, so there's no field welding at all. But what we do is we actually take 16-gauge steel and we lay out. You have to put 2 together, but these are 10-inch channels. We'll draw it out on the computer where these clips end up for the rise and run for everything. We'll enlarge the ends a little bit so you can put a little bit of weld on and tack them in place. And we'll plasma cut out these 10-inch wide strips with the miter for the end of the channel, and then we'll cut it off at the top, and we'll do a second one for the upper side of the channel. So if your 10-inch channel's 19 feet long, we have a 5x10 plasma table. We just put the 2 of them together. We label them right and left. We put them together, and it has exactly where the clips go. So we lay it on top of a channel. We mark it with a soapstone, top and bottom. We take our Milwaukee chop saw, circular saw. We cut it off where it needs to be. We put the template back up. We take all our clips. We lay them in the slots that were cut out on the plasma table. Pull the jig off, and boom, it's already laid out and ready to go. Yeah. And then we back bend it like 1 inch or 2 inches, weld the whole thing out, take the clamps off. It's relatively straight, and send it out the door. That's worked out pretty good for us. That's really the only job that we've done something like that. If you have more than 1 set of stairs, it's probably just easier just to cut out a template at a 16 or 18 gauge steel laid on top of your channel and just tack it in place right then and there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We were able to fabricate 12 flights of stairs in 4 days because of that.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That is awesome.
That's another reason why I bought a bigger table. I bought the 12-foot envelope, the 6x12, so that I could have the little bit extra length, because the majority of commercial stairs are not going to be over 12 feet, because they're putting a stairwell in a smaller area where you've got a midsection rise and run. And so that was one reason why we drove the derivative to buy one of those. I like that idea because it takes away the tape measures as long as the stuff was done right on the computer. And again, we talked about the guys in my office and how important they are, but the guys in the office, are not just in the office all the time. They have the ability to say, how am I going to effectively fabricate this based off of what I'm doing on the computer right now, versus just like having, like we call it engineer brain, right? So it helps us block that engineer brain because they've got in-field experience and they're here in the office drawing. And a lot of my guys are proficient. Out of all of the 16 that are on payroll, I'll bet 10 of them are proficient enough that if they needed to draw something from start to finish, they could draw something from start to finish, from measurements to the end, creating their own files for the plasma cutter. That's helped out a lot, that everybody's, visually can go both ways.
Absolutely. Tell me about the laser scanning that you recently acquired.
We got the Trimble-based software here. Probably heard of Lex on social media, Lex Welds. So this is our scanner. Huge shout out to Lex for mentoring me behind stuff. I came across Lex about probably 7-8 years ago on Instagram, and started following him. And he's now doing a lot of scanning and drawing, and kind of pointed me in this direction and understanding the scanners. I've had Lex come out and do a bunch of scanning for us, but Lex was not native to Utah, so we were paying for his flights and bringing him in, and it was getting costly. And then they found some local guys with scanners, and then same thing, it was costly to have them out, have them scan, and we didn't really understand what we were doing as far as hiring somebody to do a scan, what we were going to do with the data afterward, but we knew that was kind of a good direction to go for some stuff. And then we started traveling a lot. We do a lot of out of state of Utah cleanup work on some other contractors' stuff. And when I travel, I want to be in and out when I'm doing in-field measurements. I don't want to be spending 4 days at an apartment complex or a commercial building measuring stuff. And as much as I would love to just follow the print as it's drawn, I've been on the side of installing stuff that's based off of print in a stairwell, and then elevations get messed up, and back billing and charges to fabricators and things just didn't work out, or stuff just doesn't work out like that. So I thought, if there's any way that I could help mitigate the risk of stuff not fitting for my client, what's the directions? And that was by far by getting the LiDAR scanner and hiring out to people who have a scanner. And then once I had, maybe a year's worth of paying other people to scan it, I decided to buy my own. So when I did fly out of state, I can fly with it. I've got a nice backpack that this fits in. It goes on the carry-on case. I can carry it onto a plane. It fits in the carry-on luggage compartment. So I can fly out to a job, scan the job site, fly home, and have that data without missing things. And, I'm proficient in measuring. It's not that I can't measure things. I measured stuff for 15 years and drew stuff off of my own iPhone notes and my notepad and pen and paper. And I think there's something profound to understand by a gentleman or somebody who can do that. I think there's profound wisdom in somebody that can do drawings like that. But, I went and took a scan the other day, and we have 500 million points of data to pull measurements from. And there's no way that I could even write 500 million words in my lifetime, right? We got the scanner, and it goes out, scanning the data. It takes little tiny points and dots and makes what they call a point cloud. And all those little dots kind of make a 3D model to where you can model and mock off of. What pushed me over the edge on that was simply with the integration of more employees, we needed to move at faster speeds. So instead of waiting for somebody else's schedule to go out and do a scan, I bought my own. And openly, it's going to open a lot of doors for Yeti Welding. It's brought a lot of peace of mind to us for projects that we've got coming on. It's a learning curve for sure. It's not something that's like plug and play and it's going to give me all the answers. There's still a lot to learn in the welding industry with LiDAR scanners, but 100% LiDAR scanners are the future of construction, especially in the fabrication industry that we have.
What do you guys draw in? What do you guys use for shop drawings?
Right now, we draw in a couple of things. We draw in SketchUp, which is easy. I have done Shaper 3D. I think Shaper 3D works great. I'm more leaning a lot toward heavily on SketchUp right now because SketchUp is a Trimble-based software, and it talks really well with our LiDAR scanner. I can input point clouds and stuff directly into SketchUp. And SketchUp is a pretty basic profile to start learning and modeling 3D stuff. When it comes to exporting shop drawings and things from SketchUp, it takes another level of learning. That can get complex and tricky. But for smaller shop, not needing too many submittals or too obtrusive of documentation, I think SketchUp is a great platform. McKay and Matt draw in SolidWorks, so they're really great at SolidWorks. So if we need some really professional submittals and we need some more technical side of bending profiles and exports and motions and things, McKay usually handles that in SolidWorks. I haven't taken the dive to learn in SolidWorks.
Sorry.
Mark is proficient in SketchUp, and he's on the train and learning Fusion 360. So we're kind of spread out and sporadic about what we do, but it makes it nice because we have the ability to say, instead of just Kevin drawing it, Kevin, it's everybody has their own things, and they're all reputable in delivering the models that we need. I think by the end of this year, I'll probably be leaning heavier towards Tekla structures. Tekla, again, is a Trimble-based software, and it's for heavy industrial structural steel drawing and detailing. That's what a lot of your shop drawings are done in. It's either done in Tekla or Advanced Steel by AutoCAD's program called Advanced Steel. So when you're a job shop and you get a lot of shop drawings, it's usually coming from either Tekla or Advanced Steel. So I think by the end of the year, we'll be on the train of Tekla, but we got to recoup our losses from buying this thing because this thing was not cheap either.
I was looking at the BLK 360, and it's a cheaper barrier to entry, but it's something like $4,000 or $5,000 a year for the licensing fee.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, that's you got to do a lot to recoup that, So what made you go with the X7 over that?
Yeah, so the BLK 360, I know a lot of guys running the BLK 360. I didn't know the cost of the software behind it, but talking to industry professionals and things, I think the important thing is not particularly the scanner, but is the second variations of what you're going to do with the point cloud thereafter. So I pushed over the edge with the X7 because of its ability and software that Trimble has for what I was looking for. And what I mean by that is the T10 tablet that comes with the X7 when you buy it is basically a tablet. It's like an iPad. It's a super computer on steroids that you could touch. It's this guy here. But this tablet has what they call FieldLink software. And FieldLink, when I shoot one scan, I can then do a bunch of stuff on the iPad in field right then and there. I can show it and point its axes, where it's at. I can give it elevations immediately right there on that first scan. When I move the scanner from one point, advance it to the next point of scan, because you can't obviously get everything in one scan, I move it to a different point to where it can see different atrophies of the project. It does a scan. Then now you have all of these two different point clouds, two different scans. And the software that you're talking about from Leica helps you take those scans and put them together to make a model or to make a bigger point cloud. And FieldLink's is software that you can do right on the iPad, and you can do that with the BLK 360 if you have an iPad. But I just felt like FieldLink had a little bit more of a leg up than Leica's software for the in-field purposes. I can refine my scans. I can take section views of my scan if I don't want the whole job site, but I only want this stairwell. I can section view it right on the iPad, and it's powerful enough to process it. And again, it's a Trimble-based software, and I knew the growth and trajectory of my business means that I wanted to collaborate everything as small as possible into, one profile or one platform. And Trimble, particularly the company Trimble, in my opinion, has the ability for fabricators to get to that level with what they have behind them.
Okay.
And another thing, I know that the BLK 360 is a cheaper point of entry. What set me over the final edge, the Trimble guy called me and he said, "Dillon, what's holding you back?" And I said, "Honestly, the cost of $60,000 to get the machine and your proposal." I was like, that's a big bite for me. We're not a big fish, and I can't do that right away. And he said, "Well, what if we were able to offer you 0% financing for 1 to 3 years?" And I said, "Then it would completely change my mind." And then he said, "I'll do you a solid." He said, "I can't give you any software for free, but I can make sure if you pay for the full price for the hardware, for the scanner, for the tablet, for the backpack, for the carrying case, for the tripod, if you pay full price for the hardware, Trimble will buy your interest rate and we'll finance you at 0% interest on the machine." And at that point, for a business owner to hear 0% interest and I get to choose my terms between 1 and 3 years, that's free money to me. Yeah. And so I just said, "Sign me up. Where do I sign?" I applied for the credit app. I got the credit app and we got this machine. Not to say that I couldn't buy the machine outright, but I wasn't going to spend $60,000 on a measuring tool that I've been doing for decades, right? It's kind of hard. Sure. But now that I have one, I do not know how I survived without one. And we're able to go in motions so fast that it's incredible how much faster we're able to produce things and how much more accurate and confident I feel. Not even just the accuracy level, just the confidence in when something is done. All in all, after we were done, chatting about different divisions and things, I think all in all, I was out the door at like $50,000 spread between 3 years. So my payment on it's like $1,300 a month. I'll easily get my return on $1,300 a month for this particular machine. I mean, I did it in my first day. The first job that I scanned was a stairwell. I think maybe you probably saw us posting about it. We went up. It was supposed to only be one stairwell. Contractor changed, gave us all 4. So the contract went from $100,000 to just shy of $600,000. And what would have taken me 10 hours to measure accurately took me like 3 hours. But that 10 hours was for one stairwell and not 4. So in 3 hours, I was able to measure 4 stairwells instead of one in 10 hours.
Full confidence to bring it back to your shop. And, what was that? How wide is that? Are these all going to fit in the exact same way? It's going to be the game changer. Like, I feel like what plasma tables were to fab shops 15 years ago, like, if you had a plasma table 15 years ago, you were like, a small fab shop had a plasma table. You were doing good. You were on the cutting edge. Now, if you don't have a plasma table, what are you doing? Like, are you even are you even charging? You know what I mean? Like, everybody's got a plasma table.
Right. Yeah, because the entry cost of a plasma table is minuscule now from what they were.
Exactly. I think the guys who adopt this laser scanning are going to have such an advantage of getting. I mean, it's the price is going to come down. It's going to be one of those things. It's kind of like the plasma table. It's going to come down in price. You can go out and buy plasma tables for under $10,000 now, and they're actually pretty decent. And but it's in 10 years, if you're not going to a job, even Miss Susie's rail, if you're not going out there and laser scanning that in 15 years, like, you're going to be like falling behind the times. Like, I'm going to be like, why don't you just have a laser scanner for it? You know what I mean? Why are you still breaking out a tape measure for site visits? Like, you set this up, you BS with the customer, you come back, I don't know how long it takes, 10, 15 minutes, and you're done. I collect the check, see you, but like we'll bring you back your rails, and they fit absolutely perfect. If you're building big structures, you can even scan the structure in your shop, put it up against the model that you scanned, and say, is what we made going to fit? My brilliant idea of, oh, just cut the old rails out and we'll build them on top. Yeah, well, that's if the other rails are built correctly.
Yeah.
Well, the job's 2 hours away. I should have just went up there and measured everything. Well, if we would have just scanned the stairs that we had to build them for, and then built them in the shop, and then you scan it after it's done on the table, and it's base plate now. So like, if you've got a couple base plates, man, they all have to fit perfectly, and it's gonna be finished by the time you powder coat it when you put it in. So there's no touching that up. What are you gonna do? Like, so if you're able to scan it in your shop and say, hey, now put it in the model, it fits. You can see that it fits to like whatever 30 thousandths of an inch accuracy. Like to have the confidence to be able to send guys out and be like, it's going to get done. There's not going to be any rework at all. Is like, my gosh, that's my dream. That's my absolute dream.
Yeah, it definitely changes the game. Well, when you show up to the job site and you set this machine up, and the client's like, what's that? And you're like, oh, it's just a scanner. I'm just going to put this in real quick. They're like, but why? And then you tell them why. You're going to get the job over the other guy every time. Because even if your price is more expensive, they know that they're going to get an accurate project because you've gone the distance to spend and invest in yourself. He's got a scan, but it also is giving him all of the pictures of the job site. And this is one where he's doing all of these porch rails on an apartment complex, but instead of measuring every single one, he has the point cloud data of all of what he needs, and he's just sitting down there. And not only that, is as soon as I'm done with it, I can compress it into a zip file, ping the internet on this thing, and send it to my guys in the office before I even get home. I don't even have to talk to them. I just send it to them. And so my guys in the office can then see, and they can see in a 4K image of this thing of exactly how everything looks. And they're like, oh, well, is it going to interfere with that bush? It doesn't matter. I don't have to tell them anymore, And so it makes a huge difference. When I went to a job, and just before we even talked about price or what their projections were, I set the scanner up and started scanning the area, and we talked about their project and what they wanted the whole time that it was scanning, and I moved it periodically as we were done. And when the client was like, okay, thanks, show me the proposal when you're done, I didn't have to spend another hour, 2 hours measuring after. It was immediately, I was walking away from the thumbs up, let us know your proposal, with 2 billion points of data. It's absurd, So, but to answer your question about a BLK or go with the Faro or what scanner to get, you got to look at what you're doing particularly in what use case application. The reason why I didn't go with the BLK 360 is I wanted a little bit more distance capabilities than the BLK had to offer. And you can do multiple scans. You can set your scanner up here and then move it as far as you feel comfortable for its accuracy level, and advance it around a job site. But the Trimble itself had quite the range for its accuracy levels. So I don't know the exact accuracy, and don't quote me on it, but it was more accurate at a higher distance and level than the BLK 360 was. And I knew that my local steel supplier is getting a new Vortman beam line, a V807 beam line, and I knew that I was going to want to get back into the structural steel game with the custom homes. And I knew that having a scanner meant that I would be able to scan foundations, build shop drawings, and have a beam line build them faster and easier. If I was going to maintain trajectories of just doing staircases and handrails and small stuff on a smaller home scale, or a smaller commercial scale, I definitely probably would have bought a BLK 360 on a smaller entry level price, with the caveat of knowing that I was going to spend more on some sort of software. Because you don't necessarily need to buy the Leica's BLK software, because I think, as far as I understand, it can still take scans, and you'll just export those scans into a different software that you then mesh together and then refine. Others are Ferrocene. They have one that can do that. RealWorks, it's a Trimble-based software, Trimble-based RealWorks. RealWorks is one of our next purchases too, but again, it's like $6,000 a year. But you can get a scanner that can export data, whether it be on an SD card or whatever. It can just be raw scans, and then you can buy a third-party software of some sort to refine and mesh those scans, right? So I wouldn't be afraid of, like, I would just heavily look into it and then look into somebody who has a BLK 360, or talk to other people who have scanners that aren't even doing any of their own data processing. They're just scanning it and sending it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys,
absolutely.
A lot of guys will just scan it because they have the scanner to control their time frame and then export it to somebody else. And that's another great way to compound your time in your own shop to help those bottlenecks of a smaller growing shop. Maybe spend a little bit of money, get yourself a scanner, but you're not ready to hire a full-time in-house detailer. But if you scan it, now you don't feel embarrassed by giving them this thing, mailing this or taking a picture of this and giving it to somebody to draw some structural steel on a house for you.
Dillon's too valuable to stick him in an office to do shop drawings, and I have no interest in it, and we're not ready to hire somebody full-time for that. I have talked to a guy who has experience with that. He actually 3D modeled some stuff that we 3D printed out for a railing. I'm just going to scan it and send it. I'm going to tell him what the customer wants, send him the scan, send him all the information, just send me shop drawings, and let us do what we're good at.
Yeah, 100%. And you're compounding your time, and you look at that $1,300 a month payment on this thing, and you're like, dang, that's a lot of money a month. But if I can scan 3 projects a month to send off, that's only like $600 per project that I'm building into this. That $600 is easily spendable when you start talking numbers.
Well, that's it for episode number 4 with Dillon from Yeti Welding and Fab. If you haven't yet, head on over to Instagram, find him, Yeti_Welding, and find us, same place as always, Welding Business Owners Podcast. You can find me at JMW Fabrication. Go over and check out FabricatorOlympics.com and get your tickets right now. And until next time, get out there, get it done, and get it invoiced.